que c'est bon d'être de retour au printemps de ma vie. Bonjour Paris, tous mes chagrins, tous mes plaisirs, la symphonie des souvenirs surgissent de la nuit. La muette, ma chambrette, Saint-Lazare, ma guitare, la huchette, chansonnette, invalide, ventre vide.
Il faut rappeler que la visite du président El Sisi en France s'inscrit dans le cadre du renforcement des relations profondes entre l'Égypte et la France. Il s'agit d'un pas supplémentaire visant à réaffirmer les liens historiques entre les deux nations, tout en traduisant cette amitié par un échange des points de vue dans les dossiers politiques, économiques, militaires et culturels. Cette visite intervient également pour que les deux leaders examinent des questions importantes d'intérêt commun, surtout en Afrique, en Moyen-Orient, dans la région méditerranéenne, ou même sur le volet international.
Lors de sa visite également, le président doit rencontrer le Premier ministre français, un nombre de ministres et de hauts fonctionnaires français, ainsi que les chefs de l'Assemblée nationale et du Sénat français, afin de présenter la vision égyptienne sur les crises qui sévissent dans la région et comment les résoudre. La France et l'Égypte ont eu des relations ininterrompues au fil de l'histoire du bassin méditerranéen. Il n'en demeure pas moins que les Égyptiens sont pour la plupart sous le charme de la France. Et que dire de l'égyptomanie des Français? Bien au-delà de cette passion réciproque, les deux nations sont bien conscientes de l'importance stratégique de l'intérêt politique et économique et de la valeur civilisationnelle de ces rapports bilatéraux.
Il s'agit de la 5e visite du président El Sisi en France. La première était en novembre 2014 et la deuxième en novembre 2015. Lors des deux visites, le président a eu des entretiens très importants avec le président français, à cette époque François Hollande. La 3e visite du président El Sisi à Paris a eu lieu en octobre 2017, lorsqu'il a été reçu par le président français Emmanuel Macron. La quatrième datait d'août 2019, lorsque le président El Sisi s'est rendu dans la ville française de Biarritz pour participer au sommet du G7 à l'invitation du président français Emmanuel Macron.
Le président Sisi rencontrera Emmanuel Macron à l'Elysée aujourd'hui, lundi, lors d'une visite officielle. Les deux présidents s'entretiendront également notamment des crises régionales, en particulier des tensions en Méditerranée liées à la Turquie. Cette visite, qui fait suite au voyage du président français en Égypte en janvier 2019, vise à renforcer les relations entre Paris et le Caire, un partenaire stratégique et essentiel pour la stabilité au Moyen-Orient. Les deux présidents s'entretiendront donc à l'Elysée des crises régionales, en particulier, comme on vient de le dire, la Libye et les tensions aussi liées, selon les deux pays, aux actes de la Turquie. Retour au sommet des 7 pays qui ont abordé un certain nombre de sujets importants, dont les questions de sécurité internationale, la lutte contre le terrorisme et l'extrémisme, la lutte contre l'exploitation des réseaux sociaux pour servir aux objectifs terroristes, les moyens de lutter contre le trafic des êtres humains et les migrations clandestines, la lutte contre les inégalités et le soutien de l'autonomisation des femmes, en particulier en Afrique, l'échange de points de vue dans le dossier écologique et la diversité biologique, et les développements du système économique et financier mondial.
En tant que président de l'Union africaine à cette époque, le président El Sisi a prononcé un discours lors du sommet du partenariat G7 Afrique. Dans son discours, le président a étalé la vision africaine vis-à-vis des moyens de parvenir à la paix et au développement durable et les modalités aptes à consolider les fondations d'un partenariat équitable entre l'Afrique et les pays du G7 dans le cadre d'intérêts communs et mutuels. Rappelons que la visite de Macron en 2019 a été marquante également. Après avoir reçu le président El Sisi à Paris en octobre 2017, Emmanuel Macron s'était rendu en janvier 2019 en Égypte, une visite au cours de laquelle les deux dirigeants avaient signé une série de contrats, en particulier pour le métro du Caire, mais aussi assumé publiquement leur désaccord sur les droits de l'homme. Lors de la visite du président français Emmanuel Macron au Caire en 2019, outre les discussions sur la sécurité dans la région, une trentaine d'accords et de contrats ont été signés dans divers domaines tels que les transports, les énergies renouvelables ou la santé pour un montant global de l'ordre d'1 milliard d'euros. Il concerne notamment un contrat de maintenance du métro du Caire et un projet de parc éolien.
Voilà, à présent, les transmissions en langue anglaise reprennent justement pour suivre la visite du président Abdel Fattah El Sisi en France.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you a live coverage of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah El Sisi's visit to France. We are awaiting His Excellency's motorcade at the entrance of the Elysee Presidential Palace in Paris. Actually, President Abdel Fattah El Sisi is going to have talks with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron. The talks are expected to cover a wide range of issues of interest to both countries, particularly the situation in the Middle East and the Eastern Mediterranean region. Lady viewers, the presidential spokesman disclosed that a summit would be held tonight at the Elysee Palace between President Abdel Fattah El Sisi and President Macron. Ambassador Bassam Radi, the presidential spokesperson, also disclosed that President Abdel Fattah El Sisi, in addition to summit talks with President Macron, would also be meeting with senior cabinet officials in France, as well as senior members of the French Senate. Ambassador Bassam Radi, the spokesperson for the presidential cabinet, also disclosed that this visit is a state visit which President Abdel Fattah Sisi is making today to France, and is taking place at the invitation of French President Emmanuel Macron.
في يناير من عام 2019 بالإضافة إلى الاتصالات الهاتفية.
The two countries have been in constant communications on a set of international and regional issues since President Macron visited Egypt in 2019. Dear viewers, spokesperson Ambassador Bassam Radi also revealed that both countries, both governments see eye to eye with each other as to a wide range of issues. They have developed almost identical views as to a broad range of issues. Presidential Ambassador Bassam Radi said that pivotal issues would be discussed, and the positions of both countries, Egypt and France, are identical as to important issues of mutual interest.
أيضا يعني من القواسم المشتركة بين كل من مصر وفرنسا أيضا مشاهدينا الكرام.
Both countries, ladies and gentlemen, share a note among them. They share positions on the several dossiers or files which both countries have been dealing with over the past few months, such as the Libyan crisis, the general situation at the Eastern Mediterranean region. As we see, ladies and gentlemen, there have been constant coordination and constant and uninterrupted communication between both countries' political leaderships. We would like to know, Your Excellency, to tell us what does this exactly reflect. Actually, there has been rapprochement between both countries as to a set of regional and international issues. Egypt has been making a flurry of diplomatic moves in order to coordinate with France as to a set of issues. Egypt's position on a set and wide range of international and regional issues are, to a great extent, are identical with the positions developed by France on the same issues. Actually, we are expecting that bilateral ties, bilateral links in all areas will be developing, will be expanding over the next few months as well. Actually, France is going to preside over the European Union as of next year, and this is going to further bolster ties between both countries. Talking about the Palestinian cause, which has always been there for discussion on the table of any talks between Egypt and any other country. How exactly do Your Excellencies see how views are identical between Egypt and France in as far as supporting the Palestinian issue is concerned, in terms of international terms of reference, and in bringing closer the views of both the Palestinian and Israeli sides? Egypt and France have always shared the view that the Palestinian cause has always been a pivotal cause in the Middle East region. And both countries support the idea or support the proposal that two countries should be created along the recognized borders, and there have always been rounds of political talks either in Paris or in Cairo, and we are expecting talks more to be intensive in the forthcoming stage, because the Middle East region is expected to witness greater transformations, and we should act in order to put the entire world before its responsibilities as far as the Palestinian cause. France is looking forward, as we all know, to exploit, to tap available investment opportunities in the Middle East region. How French investments in the region have grown by 3.6%, which has been the highest percentage of foreign investment in the region. How do Your Excellency see the French investments in the region in the forthcoming stage? Actually, in view of the greater development of the infrastructure in Egypt, trade exchange is expected to grow further, to be expanded, to be reinforced. And Egypt now comes tops or ranks first among all countries in the region. So France is expecting or is looking forward to being present in the region in diverse forms, in investment, in trade, in having access to the Egyptian market. So and from now on, actually Egypt and the France, which is going to preside over the European Union, will be further consolidated. Within the framework of the visit, we'd like to know further about frameworks for cooperation between Egypt and France against the background of overshadowing challenges and turbulence overshadowing the entire region. Of course, we are expecting relations to grow further and to witness further success. Egypt has been importing French military equipment and French armament. Of course, Egypt has always been, as regarded by France, of course, Egypt has always been a pivotal stabilizing factor in the region. So, and Egypt has always been a great deterring force in the region. I think that we think that Egypt has been in pursuit of expanding French tourist arrivals in Egypt. Well, Egypt has been seeking to raise French tourist arrivals either at the Red Sea resort of Hurghada or elsewhere.
جائحة كورونا
France has recently been suffering a lot under the corona crisis. So do you expect that French tourist arrivals are going to expand or to increase after this visit? Well, the industry of tourism is a great, is an important and significant industry, and Egypt has already completed, has already developed an infrastructure which makes it capable of providing all facilities for all tourist arrivals, whether they be French or not. So I believe that there will be greater developments. There will be more and more French tourist arrivals in the region and in Egypt in the forthcoming stage. Egypt has been taking all the necessary precautions in order to protect all tourist arrivals. There has been academic and cultural cooperation between Egypt and France as well. The French Academy in Egypt has been playing an important role in Egypt, as well as France's archaeological expeditions have been doing great work in Egypt. All these will be featuring high at the bilateral talks. Bilateral talks between Egypt and France have been among the most significant between any two countries. They are going to cover all issues of interest to both countries: investment, tourism, all other areas of interest to both countries. Your Excellency, Ambassador Bassam Radi is being interviewed by the Egyptian television. Bassam Radi, the presidential spokesperson, is going to have talks. Had already talks with the French. Will be having talks with the French Defense Minister, as disclosed by Ambassador Bassam Radi, the official spokesperson. The talks already held by President El Sisi and the Minister of Defense of France. Well, the French Minister of Defense said that both countries have been are the cornerstone of stability at the Eastern Mediterranean region. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is also quoted as saying that Egypt has been keenly interested in consolidating military ties between Egypt and France, particularly in view of growing challenges, which requires that more coordination should be done, more cooperation should be pursued. They have also dealt with the unfolding developments, particularly in the areas of fighting terrorism. How, Your Excellency, how do Your Excellency, as a spokesperson for the presidential cabinet, how do you regard, in what light do you regard these statements made by the French Minister of Defense? In view of the challenges overshadowing the region of the Eastern Mediterranean, other countries or terrorist organizations have to be dealt with. We believe that military cooperation between Egypt and France is significant, should be further developed, should be further strengthened and enhanced. And I think that both countries have been cooperating steadily in the area of defense. And military equipment.
منح بتمنح لنا لا ده في فوز الطرفين وده امر مهم جدا في العلاقات ما بين
Actually, France's military cooperation has never been in the form of grants being given to France, but it has been based on give and take between both countries, and this is very important for any two countries keenly interested in developing the bilateral talks, bilateral ties.
الموجودة في المنطقة الإقليمية، يعني كيف ترى أن يكون هذا من شأنه أن يصب في مصلحة حل هذه الأزمات؟
How do you see, do you think that French-Egyptian cooperation will help diffuse crises gripping the entire region? Well, the Ambassador Bassamradi is answering the question with Egyptian television by saying that actually the French foreign minister has recently been to Egypt, where he met the Grand Sheikh of Al Azhar, Dr. Al-Tayyib, in order to find a way out of the present crisis France is facing, and should be and by successfully dealing with this crisis, we are expecting France to or other countries to help France get out of this crisis as well. We'd like to know, looking upon the long history of French-Egyptian ties, so we'd like to know what are the important milestones throughout the history of bilateral ties between Egypt and France. Well, Egypt and France have been cooperating successfully in combating terrorism in the region. Egypt and France have been cooperating in developing the infrastructure of Egypt and technology transfer as well. France has been playing an important role in on the political and economic levels as well. Both countries have been cooperating in excavating antiquities. Your Excellency, Ambassador, the recent developments have been unfolding recently in the region, including ambitions developed by the Turkish regime to the region. The Turkish regime has been interfering in the very domestic affairs of some Arab countries. How do you think that cooperation between Egypt and France will help thwart or foil all such attempts by the Turkish regime, which has been interfering in our internal affairs? Of course, we have been cooperating with France. There's been a very important issue of interest, which has featuring prominently in order to thwart the ambitions of Turkey. And on the 10th of this month, there will be an EU meeting which will be dealing with this ways and means of dealing with this important issue in order to rein in the expansionist ambitions developed by the Turkish regime. Egypt is not an aggressor. Egypt has never been an aggressor, has never attacked or assaulted any other country. But actually, we should, and Egypt has always been always of the view that we always upheld the principle of not interfering in any other country's domestic affairs, and I think France has an important and pivotal role to play in this respect. Yes, true. On other dossiers, there has been the dossier of terrorism.
طوفان الإرهاب التي اندلعت في فرنسا كانت في الأيام السابقة.
We have seen the fire of terrorism engulfing some areas in France. Actually, the issues of Libya and Syria are not confined to politics only, but there are certain aspects which have to do with with fighting terror. Of course, the ambassador answering, yes, of course, we have to deal with the ways and means of fighting terror. And I think this issue has always been of interest to Egypt, because Egypt is interested in seeing, in stabilizing the region of Sahel and desert, particularly the Libyan dossier, because some other regimes like Turkey have developed expansionist ambitions. The Libyan file, Egypt has been playing a significant and very effective role in dealing and addressing the Libyan file in order to thwart and reverse the expansionist ambitions developed by Turkey in Libya and in the region. We have drawn what we call the red line, which should not be crossed, by which Egypt will not allow anybody to cross, which is the stability. We'd like to mention this important. After a while, ladies and gentlemen, President Abdel Fattah Sisi will be in a minute meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron. What we see, ladies and gentlemen, now on the screen is the cavalcade, the motorcade, and preparations being made by the French guards to receive His Excellency President Abdel Fattah Sisi, who will be in talks very shortly with his French counterpart, President Emmanuel Macron. Well, in the United States, as to other factors in the region, we are awaiting to see a new administration in the U.S. by January the 20th, and so Egypt has been preparing itself, or has been eagerly interested to spell out its own vision as to in the region. The role of Egyptian expatriates abroad cannot be forgotten as well, cannot be neglected. We see, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the Egyptian community abroad, particularly in Paris, where the President is now on a visit, are all taken to streets in order to welcome His Excellency President Abdel Fattah Sisi. Well, this is a great manifestation. This is a great manifestation when all Egyptian expatriates take the streets in France in order to welcome people. Pause at this manifestation and start to think about it, because it expresses that that Egyptians, even outside their own country, have been staunchly supporting their own government, their own president, their own country. If we go beyond the framework of the picture, that the Egyptians have been welcoming, or have always welcomed the presence outside Egypt, we'd like to go deeper into this image, not just confining it to welcoming or cheering up the President as he arrives for talks, but what do those Egyptian expatriates can offer to their own country when they are outside Egypt? The ambassador is answering by saying that, well, those expatriates have their own experience which they can offer to their own country. They can as well they can refute any rumors. They can refute anything being circulated about their own country. So when any member of the Egyptian community abroad talks in defense of his own country, it makes a difference that he is Egyptian and living abroad on a scholarship or work, and he is in defense of his own country.
على كافة الأصعدة. يعني مؤخرا عندما كان هناك بعض اللغط إذا ما صح التعبير بشأن الرسومات الكاريكاتورية المسيئة في فرنسا كان لمصر موقف.
Well, there has been recent controversy, so to speak, about the cartoon by France. Well, actually, in which case Egypt has reacted by spelling out it's a clear vision of the situation. Egypt's position as to these cartoons has been very clearly spelled out, has been a genuine one and a clearly spelled out one. And Egypt has been helping France how to go out of this situation which they have found that themselves hedged in. So the French foreign minister has recently been to Egypt, where he met the Grand Sheikh of Al-Azhar. And I think in reaction as well, in reaction to the Egyptian position, France as well has also has been more rationally using its liberties and freedoms, particularly in as far as such sensitive issues as religion. And well, the ambassador is continuing by saying that I think this issue is so sensitive that it has to be dealt with more realistically, and this has to do with also Egypt's approach of rectifying the religious discourse. Thank you, Ambassador Muhammad Urabi. We have been, ladies and gentlemen, we have been interviewing Ambassador Muhammad Al-Urabi, who has been with us. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the guards are on alert as we see them, expecting the cavalcade bringing President El Sisi down to the door of the Elysee Palace, where he will be having talks with President Emmanuel Macron of France.
les enjoints à ma femme.